What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. It gives me great pleasure to introduce someone I know as Johnny Towels, but he's known to the rest of the world as John Howells and is a putting guru. But, mate, I'm excited to dive into your story. You've done a lot of really cool things. You swam in college, right, and done some other things. Have been all over the world. I think you took a gamble on coming out to the States in Austin to do an internship with TPI or Titleist before that. Played golf with Will Smith. You know, you've done some really cool things, and I from my side of the pond, it's been awesome to watch you do it, mate. It's been fun to watch you just chase your dream, right, and go from, I think people who we grow up back home in the golf world, and we got multiple friends of ours who went the pro route, dived into a pro shop, and have been there, and they're still there, and they're doing great. Yeah. But I think there's something in you that's like, no, I want to keep pushing and travel, and I'm not scared to travel, which is something that is rare back home. So excited to share those stories. For people listening, we'll dive into your current role a little bit. Who are you? What do you do? And where are you at?
Yeah, well, it's really nice to reconnect again, Mike. Obviously, we've known each other. I want to say we probably played against each other when I was about 15. You would have been about 13, I think.
The Grove.
First time around. You were up at the Coyd and I was at the Grove with Lloyd. I remember playing against you and Jack Kelly over at Coydmuster, where I didn't want to bring it up. Well, I've gone quite early with this.
Yeah, you won.
We turned you over at your home place, but we won't mention that.
If I remember right, Jack had the shanks.
Yeah, you piped a driver down one, and then he proceeded to shank it into the bush.
We were not best friends that day.
Yeah, you guys do. Yeah, you kind of were like, yeah, you were sort of getting after it and having some fun with each other. But it was a good sort of intro, wasn't it, through junior golf and whatever. And appreciate what you've said there. I mean, look, like, similar to yourself, I know you've been doing a lot with the podcasts and doing a lot with your own career as well. So yeah, good on you. But my side, golf coach. Been obsessed with golf ever since I was about sort of that age, 14, 15, really got into it. I was a swimmer prior to that, and sort of jumped ship over to golf just because I realized it was much more fun socializing and talking to people rather than staring at the bottom of a pool for 2.5 hour sets. That's kind of what I do. I've been obsessed with golf ever since. About 18, I sort of realized I wasn't going to make it as a player and wanted to just focus on coaching. It kind of lent itself to my sort of analytical brain and stuff like that. So yeah, kind of just started getting after it and chasing my dreams in that regard. So yeah.
And I know this is a great story. Tell me the story about how you having your dad on the bag when you're at Q school for your PGA Q school to become a pro, because that's a great story.
That's going back. Dad caddied for me at you have to do your playability test. We were sort of like, we were going pretty good, okay round ones. I think I shot like 6 or 7 over. So I think you have to shoot 15 over par for 2 rounds of golf in one day, which sounds really easy, but at the time I didn't have enough funds to have to redo that. It cost you about 200 quid or whatever to enter. I didn't have the funds to come back and do it again. So it was like a one and done kind of deal for me. And yeah, sort of second round, I was like, Dad, just keep up now and shut up. Like, don't say much else. First hole of round 2. So I'm like 6 over, 7 over gross, I think, for round 1. I've hit hybrid on 1, like snipe hooked it left, then hit another one left, but found it. Then I've taken a drop from a water hazard, and I'm like, I can get to the green from here. Like, I need to try and get up there for whatever that is, like five shots or whatever, up close to the green. Dad said, really? You're going to give that a go, John? I'm not sure about that. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, don't say anything. Just shut up. He goes, but what about that tree? I've now tried to hit this like threaded little 4-iron punch underneath this tree. I've hit the tree smack bang in the middle of it. It's come straight back towards me. My dad's just sort of going, oh, that's interesting, boy. Anyway, proceeded to take a quadruple going up that hole. So I'm now like 11 over par. I've got 4 shots to play with for the remainder of the day. And I've got 17 holes to try and get it home. So, it was an interesting next 3.5 hours, but we managed to get it done. And Dad and I live to tell the tale.
It's just such a great story. Didn't his phone go off on the last green, or you like got a putt
Oh
for it?
yeah, I mean, he was up to all sorts of things. He was talking more with my playing partners than me, and just like he was just
Yeah.
he was all over the place. But no, phone and etiquette, not good. He's not really a golfer, but bless him, he's been there in some big moments for sort of caddying. But I think we've learnt to probably not do that again.
Great experience to start your professional teaching career with your dad on the bag
Well,
when he
yeah,
doesn't know what he's
yeah.
doing.
Probably good
I
at that.
always remember that. That was such a great story. Yeah, I mean, like you said, we've known each other for a really long time now. It's been over 20 years, which is mad to think that. But after you graduated uni, obviously dove into the golf space. You mentioned having an analytical brain and golf's exciting. Was your first sort of trip out of Royal Porthcawl as an intern, first trip down to see Haribo in Tenby, was that where you started?
So I was working at Brocket Hall, did my sort of training there effectively when I was at university doing PGA and stuff. Mike Perry, Harry, Paul Thomas, those guys, learned a ton from them, and they sort of gave me they made me streetwise, I suppose, as a golf pro, kind of knowing the do's and don'ts, and they were brilliant. Like, I remember those times with fond memories. Moved on from there after, Porthcawl was very much like a typical members club. There wasn't a huge amount of scope to do much more coaching. Like, I was just in the shop. So I moved down to Tenby, worked for Reese for 2 years, which was great. And Reese was really into like kind of embracing the sort of new ideas. Like TPI was very new at the time. The idea of biomechanics and involving people like Mark Bull came down to Tenby for a training weekend that we did. We even had Gareth Cooper, you remember, who was into sort of golf fitness at the time. And he wanted to come down and get involved. So there was lots of different like avenues that we wanted to explore. The whole fitness and golf movement was very much underway by that point. This is sort of 2010, 2011. Got really lucky with Reese Harry, who allowed me to just kind of crack on. He said, look, John, like, go for it, like blank canvas. Here's a coaching academy. They just had a new driving range built using Ryder Cup legacy funding that they'd got off the Welsh Golf Union, off Ryder Cup Wales, which was great for Tenby and for Reese to then really sort of forge a bit of a path as an expert coach in that West Wales, Pembrokeshire area. So really got stuck into that. I did my TPI certification at the same time, also trained as a level 2 like fitness instructor, because I didn't know if I wanted to go down the whole route of being like a TPI kind of golf trainer. But the more I researched into golf and golf coaching, I was really fascinated by that area, particularly short game and putting as well. But kind of really did a lot of good stuff down there at Tenby because Reese allowed me to. And that led me to discovering a guy called Ryan Chrysler, who was over in Austin. So I remember booking a flight to go, and it was just the cheapest flight I could find on Skyscanner at the time, right?
Mhm.
You sort of go whichever method you can to get over to Austin. And I actually fly from Cardiff to Amsterdam, so went further away, then went from Amsterdam to like Indianapolis or somewhere, and then got like an internal down to Austin, and spent like a month really with Ryan Chrysler and a guy called Spencer Reynolds. They were really into the whole TPI and golf coaching sort of movement at the time, and I was just a sponge to all their knowledge and really enjoyed it. Kind of came home and sort of brought some of those ideas with me. Yeah.
Yeah. What year was that?
That was 2010. I did that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was the big takeaways from? I mean, had you been to the States before? And Austin's such a
No,
great place.
like my first time going to the States, I was 22, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't like. Yeah, I mean, biggest takeaway was, oh my goodness, like America is so big and so vast, and the golf industry is way more ahead of the UK. Honestly, at the time, I thought there was, back home from a small town in Wales, there were not many people talking about doing TPI screenings before starting to work with a player, whatever level of player. And Spencer and Ryan were really good at doing that. And they impressed upon me that like, you've got a duty of care to kind of look at these things. And I suppose it just made me kind of be a bit more open to not just doing things the way that, people that I've seen in the past. And I remember having good conversations even with Paul and Reese about that when I got back, and they were like, my goodness, really, do they go to that level of detail with like an 18 handicap? And I'm like, well, okay, not maybe to as much level of detail, but they'll certainly screen them. They'll do a basic level 1 screening on that player, understand what they can and can't do, and then start to teach them and build a swing or a swing ideology around that. So it just kind of opened my eyes to the fact that like it's a big old world out there, and the more people you learn from and speak to, the better in the long run.
Yeah, TPI, when it came out, everyone's probably just like, especially from your side, they're like, well, obviously this makes so much sense. You know, like I said, the majority of golfers aren't able to get into a position immediately. They have to work to get into a position physically to help themselves. I mean, you know, me, for example, I don't swing it traditionally, do I? But I know myself, I know my limitations. Like, I know my overhead squat isn't great. I know that, like, my rotation here isn't great. Like, my shoulders, like, I'm not, posture's terrible. But then, like, I have the ability to manipulate it, and my timing's pretty good, so I can save it. Whereas someone who's an 18 handicapper, or even, the States have definitely a different handicap system to the UK, because if they
Well,
say
we've
they're,
adopted,
you know,
UK's adopted yours now, I think.
it's a disaster. But you're right. Like, it's amazing that teaching has gone on for so long without even asking the question of like, hey, can I even put this, person in a position to get to where the book
Yeah.
says or whatever the documents say that like they should be. It's and yeah, I mean, obviously the technology now over the last 10, 15 years has expanded, and the fitness side has blown up and people are stretching and doing their thing. But yeah, I'm sure at the time when you're, bright-eyed new pro thinking, wow, this is like, oh my God, right? This is someone's
Yeah.
invented the light bulb. Like, this is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like,
But
oh my God, no, I'm going to change the world of like UK coaching. I didn't. But no, you just come out and you got that excitement, right? The excitement and the innocence of youth, and you come back and you're like, right, I'm going to get. We had Mark Bull down, and he did like a training week with us, with like a lot of our elite juniors, a few amateurs that were serious as well. He was like looking at putting sensors on the body and looking at the golf swing in 3-dimensional movement. Gareth came along, did some screenings because he was getting into TPI. I did that alongside him, did some coaching, some short game. Like, it was, just trying to be a little bit more serious. And yeah, I think it sort of set me up for kind of what I was going to try and do for the rest of my career, really. Like, just be a bit more serious about it. I feel a little bit more like, you go around and try and always learn what you can from different people you meet.
yeah. How did the Bahrain, Dubai, Abu Dhabi type situation come about? Were you at Tembe at that time?
Yeah, so I was at Tembe, and Reese was like, look, it's been brilliant this last 2 years, but like, John, I'm totally cool if you want to fly the nest. I was talking to him already about some other ideas, and I had a couple of mates who were in the Middle East already. One guy, Craig Deary, another guy, Chris Fitt. Those guys had gone over to Saudi and had worked and set up a new course there. So I was talking to them a lot about like what the Middle East was like, and obviously the climate there is fantastic. If you want to be a golf coach, right? You can coach 12 months a year. You can also, tax free certainly helps. And obviously the kind of packages and things that were available for coaches were pretty palatable at the time. So I was like, right, let me look at that Middle East option. And there was just a job that came up. It was a job based in Bahrain at the Royal Golf Club. And I got interviewing with a guy called Martin Robinson and Phil Jones. Those two chaps were brilliant British pros, PJ pros. And they wanted to kind of like revamp their junior program. By that time, I'd already kind of learned the TPI junior program inside and out, so I could answer pretty good questions on that. And I sort of basically gave them some answers that they quite liked in the interview. And they said, look, come over, like, look after our junior program, and let's put this kind of TPI fundamental movement skills, making sure that these kids are kind of having fun, not getting bored, working through different hat systems and levels that they can work through. They tried to make it quite like karate, where, karate, you start as a white belt and you develop all the way through to black belt. In golf, you kind of just get certificates all the time. And I don't think it's very exciting for a kid, nor is it like you don't get to show it off either, because you don't go around walking around with your your certificate, but you can wear a coloured cap on your head and say, "Oh my goodness, I'm a white cap at the beginning, and then I progress all the way through to a black cap." So that's what we did over in Bahrain. That worked really well. Spent a year there in Bahrain, but I would say after about 6 months, I had an email just randomly one morning from Ryan Chrysler, who obviously I'd met about a year prior over in Austin, and he just like literally said in the email, he said, "John, there's a job going at the Butch Harmon School in Dubai. Get your CV polished up and send it to Claude Harmon, as in Claude Harmon III, and Justin Parsons, who was the director of instruction there at the time." He said, like, "Send the CV. I've told them that you're the guy for the job." And I'm like, wow, like what a sliding doors moment. I'm
Yeah.
a big believer in that, like serendipitous moments and stuff where,
Hmm.
you get these moments that kind of, you didn't realize they were in creation a year and a half ago, but they probably were. And I was chuffed to bits. Obviously did what Ryan said. And I actually went over to meet Justin over in Dubai. I spent a week with him, like shadowing and like helping out with the junior program and just trying to like, show him what I was about. And at the end of the week, he just said, "Look, mate, this is good. Like, we'd love you to start come sort of September the following year." So I'd done 1 year in Bahrain, and oftentimes like pros will go to Bahrain or Saudi or wherever around that area, Kuwait, and they'll use that as like a springboard to get over to Dubai, because once they're in the region, Dubai's kind of the mecca really of golf in that sense, because it's so busy. There's a lot of good golf courses all in around that locality of Marina and sort of Burj Khalifa, Dubai. So I was really chuffed to have made that transition in just a year. Probably a little bit new to be in such a good role, because I'm at a world-class golf school. The Butch Harmon School in Dubai at the time was getting all the elite level players. Justin and Claude had set it up in 2008, and I'm there like 4 years later, and I'm thinking, wow, I've landed on my feet here as a 24-year-old. I've been coaching for 2.5 years, really. I don't deserve this, and I just realized I needed to like learn as much as I possibly could in that first year, really, and just make sure I just was a sponge, which is kind of what I carried on doing for the 6 years I was there, quite honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that at L's Club? Is that what that was at?
Yeah, that was at L's Club. So
Okay.
Dubai Sports City. The idea of the city was that it was going to be loads of really elite level sports academies in this one location, and that would naturally bring a lot of families and expat families to that area, because that would allow for them to go to the ICC Cricket Academy, or go to Miguel Salgado had a Spanish soccer schools over there. We had the golf school, which was a Butch Harmon school. So we had all these elite level academies in this one sports city, and the idea then was that would bring a lot of residential sales, obviously, through that, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
The Elves Club was fantastic. It was an amazing golf course. Got to meet Ernie quite a few times. He would come down and practice there. Rory McIlroy would come over and practice there every January. Like some amazing names, and I'm thinking, how on earth have I landed this? Like, it was just too much fun.
So awesome though, and it's just like there's a thing I always kind of relate back to, is that when you're working hard and you've got your head down and you're doing what you love and you're chasing your dream, people are always watching, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, you're not always talking to, to your mate in Austin, who's clearly, advocated for you because of the time you've put in just a month with him, a
yeah,
couple of years ago. Like, and we don't know that. And sometimes you don't know someone's always watching because you never get that phone call, right? Because you've
yeah.
done something that, maybe they didn't like, but they don't know, you don't know.
Well, like
Well, they know.
Ryan was a pioneer. I mean, I was having online lessons with him. I'd never
Mm,
met him. This was 2009 that I started having online
yeah.
lessons through V1 Branded Academy, if anyone remembers that, any
Hmm.
golfers out there. And they were early to the market, right? I used to pay him $50 a month, and I did that for him for about a year. And it was brilliant. And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
loving this. Like, I want to go over and see this guy. And that's what led to the internship.
Hmm.
Everyone's jumping on Skillist and Coach Now and everything nowadays, and they're like, online coaching is the new thing. And I'm like, well, no, like, it's been around. People have been doing it
Yeah.
since, early days of 2008, I would say, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, I think, whatever relationships you can build with people, right? And not fake wins. It has to mean something to you. And for me and working with Ryan, like I was really getting a lot out of that. I was still trying to like play a little bit. I was trying to make sure I could pass my PAT, which we spoke about at the start of the call. God, I needed the help if my dad was going to be carrying the bag. So I needed Ryan to sort of make sure my golf swing was up to some sort of form. So, yeah, you're always learning. You're always trying to kind of pay it forward, aren't you? And do things that you don't think are going to lead to anything, and oftentimes they do. So
yeah, and like you said, you're around some of the world's best players, but you're also around the best coaches too. So you're just in such a great spot as a young coach to learn. Okay, yeah, this Rory's coming on the range every January, and Ernie's there, and all the other players that are coming out, and then full circle moment. You talk about Rayhan. I assume Rayhan is who you probably had in the junior clinic, who ends up coming to Oklahoma State and is now trying to get his tour card. Like, this 10 plus years later, like this is such a cool spot for you to look at and to be at. What were the highlights of being there for 6 years? I mean, what's some of the stories you look back on?
Look, there's so many good ones, but I mean, obviously watching Rory was really cool. I'll tell you the story around the first time I met him. We used to get I used to have a Monday off and I would work a half day on a Sunday. Sunday was like the first day of the week over in Dubai, back then anyway. The weekend was Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday would be like a chill day. On that Sunday, I was playing golf with a good friend of mine, Ben Derbyshire, and Craig Deary, one of the guys who was already over there in the Middle East. And we just played at the Els Club that morning. I'd been working at the golf school for maybe like 2 months, something like that. And it was actually only me at the golf school that day. So I was playing in the morning. I was just about having some lunch, and then I'm having some food with the guys. I get a call off my boss, Justin, and Justin goes, "John, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm at the Els Club. I'm having lunch." He goes, "Right, get yourself ready. The world number one is coming down to the golf school in about an hour. Go and make sure that the golf school's like immaculate. Make sure that Bassant and the guys there have got it all set up, and just make your introductions and look after him." I'm like, "Sorry, JP, no," I said, "Of course, I'll be there. I'll be there." So obviously, don't even finish my lunch. I run straight down to the golf school, and fair play, Bassant, who was the guy that run the team of outside surface operations guys. They were already all over it. We had this little tee at the front of the studios, which we called the major tee. It meant you were only allowed to practice from there if you'd won a major championship. So obviously they're prepping to put him on that tee, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is how they do things here, right? Awesome. But I felt like the nerves, right? You sort of you feel like, God, he's coming in here to do some practice, and he's just won his second major at that point, right? He's won the USPGA, I think, that summer. So this was 2012, sort of late October, November maybe, and yeah, comes down, and like the whole team are there. So like Steve McGregor is in charge of his fitness. JP Fitzgerald was his caddy at the time. Michael Bannon, Harry Diamond was there as well as just a friend and a guy he used to practice with, and obviously Rory. And I've kind of seen them as they've all driven down on this big sort of parade of all these buggies, and I'm going around saying hello, and I get to Rory, and he introduces himself. He goes, "Hi, John, I'm Rory McIlroy," and I was like, "No, I know who you are."
Fully aware.
John Howells. But it was nice to put me immediately at ease and kind of, real fun. So they go ahead, they practice, and Justin's texting me now. He's like, "How's everything going? Is it all good?" And he's like, I'm like, "Yeah, I think so. They're out there, they're hitting balls, all's good." He goes, "Right, John, that Casio camera that you keep telling everyone about? Go and get some slow motion video for the studios." So I'm now, oh my God, I bought this Casio FH20 camera. Back in the day, it was like a slow-mo 300 frames per second kind of camera. It was really good. So I'm going out there now, and I'm like, "Hey, Michael," like to Michael Bannon, "any chance I can?" And he goes, yeah, great. So I'm like there with my tripod and the camera, and I'm setting up and trying to get the face on down the line. And like, before you know it, they're both kind of like leaning over my shoulder, like looking at these videos, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, like this is just a joke now." I'm scrolling left and right. He goes, "George, go back to like takeaway there, John. I want to see it when club's parallel." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, cool." And they're like, "All right, yeah, sound awesome." And then Michael just, after they've kind of carried on hitting balls, Michael comes over to me and he just says, nice as pie. He just goes, "John, do us a favor. We just want to see it from a slightly different angle. Like, just scoot over half a yard when you're taking that face-on camera angle. I didn't realize it, but all of the face-on video camera angles I'd taken were not 90 degrees. They were like a little bit off. And I was like, oh, I look back at them now. I've still got those videos.
Yeah.
I just laughed to myself because I was so, like, in the moment, I hadn't realized quite what I was doing and where his target was. But Michael couldn't have been nicer. He was like, look, just scoot over a little bit. He didn't want to tell me, look, mate,
Yeah.
the camera angles are rubbish. So yeah, like made a friend and a group of friends there. And I still see Michael, to this day. I had a good catch up with him at Wentworth 2 months ago, and he asked me how things are going. And, it's just really cool, isn't it? To sort of know someone all those years later, 13 years later, and he still remembers me. So that's nice.
Yeah. Any takeaways from Rory in that time? Just seeing him as a young world number one. I mean, that was, obviously he's gone on to done everything, but anything stand out?
Just like I've never heard a sound like it, like watching him hit balls from, like, if I was watching anyone hit balls. I mean, geez, other than you, Mike, of course, I've been
sure.
watching you hit balls.
Yeah.
So it's a similar sound.
Yeah, thanks for
within
that.
the similar decibel range.
It just doesn't go the same direction. It just goes that way or it goes that way.
Yeah. But no, frozen rope with you. I know that, mate. It's frozen rope. But yeah, it's just completely different. Like when you watch someone that good, I'd seen some tour players practice and play before. I'd seen Alvaro Quiros up close a few years prior when I was I did a bit of caddying for Pete Champ back in the day.
That's a great story. We'll bring that back.
There's another one there. So I knew what good ball striking was, but I didn't realize that there was yet another level. And still to this day, I hear people say that about Rory, and I know what they're kind of referring to. Like, it's just a different sound, completely different flight, like especially with the driver. Like, he's got this shot with the driver where he can like medium to kind of low launch it, but he almost doesn't swing it slower. He kind of like hits this like knuckleball that into the wind just goes for miles. It's an absolute joke. And I've seen him hit it a lot, and it kind of surprises people because tough par fours, for example, you've got other guys like having a much longer second shot into a par four or par five or whatever, and he's hit this like low little knuckleball mini draw, and it just goes forever. It's like a low spin, medium low launch. Yeah, I mean that all of those things were very, very impressive. There was so much, but just. The big takeaway was just to be yourself and just like not get scared. Like, at the end of the day, they're just a human being. He's there at work. He wants to do his work. Help him and then get out of his way and let him, take his own videos.
And golf is a common denominator, isn't it? Like, golf is the beauty of it. You're and whether that's a touring pro, best in the world, or someone who's a CEO at a Fortune 500 company or whatever that's a billionaire, like, golf is the equalizer.
Absolutely,
it's the beauty of it. Like, you've seen it through, whether you played with celebrities or professional golfers. Like, golf is it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what makes it so cool. Really, it crosses cultures, countries, boundaries, you name it. It's fantastic that everyone can find that way to spend 4.5 hours together and just really enjoy each other's company. And they might not have if golf wasn't there, and that's really cool. So I think there's enough difference of opinion in the world. It's nice that golf can kind of bring people to sort of get closer, which is great.
Yeah. Tell me about playing with Will Smith, because I know there was definitely a big moment there of you running across the green, high-fiving each other when a certain professional golfer's in the fairway.
Yeah, it's forgotten now. Yeah. There's a loader on that. I mean, Will had come over to Dubai because DJ Jazzy Jeff from back in the day, who's a good friend of his, was playing at Barasti, which is a beach bar. He was playing there on New Year's Eve. And I think Will was, he was in the press a bit at the time for some stuff he maybe didn't want to be. And he was just looking for a bit of a escape. And so came over to Dubai, was just hanging out there with Jazzy Jeff, and had a really good couple of days. I think he was then sort of invited by the Crown Prince and the powers that be in Dubai to stay on and enjoy the cool entertainment pieces and the fun things that there are to do in Dubai. We then got a call, I think it was like the 2nd and 3rd of January, Justin got a call saying, look, Will Smith's in town. He wants to golf. He wants to stay here and work on his golf. And we've told him that the best place to go is to come and see you. So JP's like, oh, amazing. So, in typical Justin fashion, he was like, he wanted to share the wealth, right? He wanted everyone to have a bit of a moment because that was a cool
Mhm.
experience, right? To have a A-list celebrity, someone who's like, everyone knows him. He's a really cool guy. Justin was naturally like looking after Full Swing and kind of most of the technical instruction. But each of us got a chance to spend like a morning with him, which was really cool. Um, Jamie McConnell, who was there, did some Trapman work with him while Rory and he were both on the range, and that was a really nice moment for Jamie. Alex did some stuff with him, like going through some technical stuff, short game. Claudine was there, Claudine Riggs, who Alex and Claudine were together. They all had a moment to kind of spend some time with Will Smith, and then I was like the last one out, which was fine. But then I got into work on, I think, the Wednesday. It was like 7:30 in the morning or something. I had an 8 o'clock lesson, and then JP said to me, "Look, John, you're free at 9. Go and make sure that you've hit some balls, but you're going to go out and play 9 holes. Go and do a bit of putting with Will, and you're going to go and play a 9-hole playing lesson with Will Smith." I was like, "What?" So this is like amazing. Like, I've grown up on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, I loved that series. I watched all his movies, and yeah, I think he's just a really cool guy. So I'm like running around, not really paying it. I mean, I feel sorry for my 8 o'clock lesson that day because I was not really there in present of mind. But yeah, obviously got to 9 o'clock, and I'm sort of like hanging out with. He had this security detail that was with him, and I'd been sort of making acquaintances with him all day. And he was like chatting, and he was like, "Right, Will's coming now. Okay, cool." So we kind of get ready on the buggies, and Will just like jumps on the buggy next to me, and I'm like, "Okay, where's your bouncer? Your security guy?" And he's like, "No, just me and you. Come on, let's go." I was like, "What? What if like someone comes along and starts trying to get like too familiar
Yeah.
with you or whatever? I'm not going to stand in there, And he goes, "No, come on, we'll be fine. Let's go." I was
Yeah.
like, "All right, okay." So off we trot. We go up to the first tee, and we're up by the first, and there's a couple of groups that are just playing through on the first. And the first is it's a drive off the tee, and I'm like standing there, I'm taking some practice swings, and now I'm like getting nervous, but I'm like, okay, cool. Take some practice swings, like little swings, and it's making that little whoosh noise right when you hit driver. And he goes to me, he goes, I remember it. He was like, "That's it. I need some of that speed, man. I need some of that John speed." He's like, "I need some of that." I was like, "Come on, Will." And I turn behind me, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, right, whatever works." Like, all the guys are up now, all the management staff are like watching us tee off. So you've got like the GM, the head of golf, like the director of golf, the greenkeepers. They're all kind of watching what we're up to on this first tee. And I remember just standing there being like, I've seen and hit balls in front of people before. Like, I'd hit balls in front of Rory by that time, but I'd never been so scared as I was hitting a ball in front of Will Smith. And so I managed to make contact, hit an half decent drive down there, which is fine. And then we continued to go on and play a really good game. And I'm just there on my phone, like taking videos, thinking, I just want to, I want to report this back to JP and make sure he's got some on course things. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't wait to show this to the boys later in Brasty. This is going to be brilliant. So I've got a lot of Will Smith videos there that are
Class moments. Good throwbacks.
yeah. I mean, Dubai's like that. It throws up curveballs like that are really, really cool. And golf, even more so in golf, I would say.
Yeah. So 6 years there, and then, I mean, I know you end up at JCB, but where do you go between JCB Club and Dubai, or do you come straight back and go to JCB?
Oh yeah, no, I did 6 years in Dubai,
Yeah.
and then I'll be honest, I'd been away for 7 because I did a year in Bahrain,
Yeah.
and I was like, I was just, for family reasons and things like that, I was sort of like, right, I need to get back home to the UK. Yeah, managed to use another contact. Right, we talk about sliding doors moments. There was a guy who was working in recruitment, a guy called Adam Keeble, who was a good friend of mine. Adam, I was at university with. We studied together doing our PGA training for 3 years at University of Birmingham. And Adam was really helpful. He was in with a lot of the good golf jobs, and he still is to this day. He works for a company called Colt McKenzie McNair. He's a director of theirs, and he hooked me up with the guys at JCB. And I came home to open that club. With a load of other really good staff and guys there, and yeah, lucked out really with that, because for those of you who don't know about JCB, they're a big company here in the UK, big employer. They employ about 15,000 people worldwide now. They make all sorts of different plant material, everything from big excavators to sort of small mini diggers. And yeah, they wanted a marketing arm similar to like what John Deere do with Deere Run. They wanted to have their own golf course to maybe showcase their equipment, invite guests and customers to, show off, hospitality the JCB way. And that was a fantastic 7 years I was there.
Wow.
And yeah, so that brought me back to the UK and yeah, allowed me to carry on. They really wanted to have a good academy and a good pro shop and all that stuff. So I was head pro there for 6 years, then kind of always wanted to just coach. If I'll be honest, I didn't really want to do too much of the operation. I did it and I enjoyed it, but I knew that my strong suit was always the coaching. So yeah, nowhere in between Dubai and JCB, just came straight back and via mum's house and then straight here. Yeah.
That's and I guess being at JCB, being a head pro, is that the first time you've sort of hosted big events as well? Because they did some women's events, right? And then you had Live and a few things. Tell me about that side of things, because that's different, right, to what you've kind of known for the previous career.
Yeah, like I had done a few events at Brocket Hall back in the day, like Wales Opens. I wasn't there for any of the seniors, but I'd done a couple of ladies events and bigger amateur events and stuff like that when I was at Porthcawl, a couple of events at Tenby and stuff. So a few bits of experience on that. But when I interviewed for the job at JCB, they very much wanted to have a fully fledged tour event, right? They were, for a long period of time, they were speaking to all the different major tours, as I'm sure you can imagine. And they eventually started to, just in the years of COVID, they started to do some Rose Series events, which was a small scale, see how we go. That went really well. Then they did 2 years of Seniors Tour, which was hosted by Darren Clark, who was an old friend from when he worked with Justin over in Dubai. So that was nice that I kind of knew him. I can remember giving him a big hug the first year that he was hosting. And my GM, my boss, came over to me and Mark, he said, "Do you know him?" I was like, yeah, I've known him for years. Like, he was over having lessons with Justin. I'd helped him with his putting a little bit over the years. And he just won the Seniors Open the day before. Like, he came down on the Sunday night and we hosted the event the week after. So that, like, all of a sudden you sort of go, God, okay, yeah, John has got a good contacts list, which was quite nice. So yeah, we did those 2 years of seniors events, which was great. And then eventually they looked at getting the Live tournament. And yeah, we've done, well, I would say I'm not there anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, we did 2 years when I was there, and they've got it again next year. So they'll have done 3 years total come July this year.
Yeah.
The Live UK by JCB there.
How is the, you mentioned kind of, obviously now you're always on coaching. It's kind of what you really love doing and had plenty of time, plenty of experience doing it. Obviously, JCB, you're running other things as well as coaching, but great facility there to coach and great content coming out of everything you're doing. When do you start to get that breakthrough as a coach to think, because every coach, I guess, has probably that defining moment that's like, wow, I got a tour player and now I'm traveling with that tour player every now and then, or I'm checking in. You know what I mean? Like, who is that? I know obviously you've had experience, through Justin and everything that he's doing is kind of a second hand, like helping, a second pair of eyes. But when is it that you have that moment that you're like, personally for you, like, I think I've kind of made it now. Like, I'm coaching here.
I think it's dangerous to think you've ever made it, but I think
I've arrived kind of thing. Like, it's worth the time. I agree with what you're saying.
But like, I think the first moment I thought, oh, maybe I'm half decent at it. I don't know. I still even struggle to say that about myself, but I worked with Rayhan, who you've mentioned. Rayhan Thomas was an Indian-based, or was originally from India, grew up in Dubai, and he was one of the first guys that Claude and Justin, full credit to them, they put him through that whole TPI Junior program. They really used him as a one of the first case studies that they really had success with, and I think they did a fantastic job because by age 15, 16, I mean, this guy was an absolute baller. He was so good at golf. +4 handicap, like always shooting under par, like could hit every shot. Everyone used to joke because even at 16, he looked like he was 40 years old. Like, he just looked solid and strong. And I remember I came back from a seminar. I'd done a Phil Kenyon seminar over in Shanghai, and I came back from that. And Rehan was just there by the putting green one day, and Justin and he and I were talking, and he was like, "You should get John to have a little look at your putting, like see what's going on there." And I did. I started working with him just purely on his putting, trying to use all of the different bits of knowledge that I'd learned, but in particular, a lot of the stuff I'd learned from Phil. We just started working on his putting. Just generally, I didn't think much of it. He was a really good junior. He was winning a lot of the Emirates Golf Federation events, but he started to play in these MENA Tour events, which were world OWGR events. They had world ranking points, and particularly for him, it was amateur world ranking points at the time. And he actually played in the Dubai Creek, which was the first MENA Tour event of the year. And I want to say this was 2017. In fact, I know it was 2017. And I remember he's got off to a really good start. Like he's like parred the first, then he's like gone on an absolute run. And it's probably an hour into his round. He's like 5 holes in and he's like 4 deep. And I remember texting Justin at the time because I was on my day off. It was a Tuesday. And I was like, "Are you watching Rehan? Like he's going real deep here." He ends up making the turn in 27, right? I later found out he'd had something like 8 1-putts in a row. And I'm going, "Oh my God, maybe I'm actually okay with this." Then he like cruises home in like 3 under to shoot 61. But Justin and I had been texting over that 4 hours, and we're like, "We're going to have to go up because we think he's going to shoot 59 here. Like, I want to be on that 18th green," because he was playing with Darren Clark as well. The tournament sponsors had put Rehan as a young junior with one of the one of the big names, so he'd put him with Darren Clark. I can't remember who the other third person was. Probably someone really good, and I'll be embarrassed when they text me later. But yeah, like, I was thinking, this is amazing. He goes and, everyone was disappointed that he'd shot a course record equaling 61. It was at Dubai Creek. It was, it was his home club as well. So there's a lot of, but still at 16 years old to do that, that's pretty blooming impressive. And I remember thinking like, okay, like that's really nice because he was a good putter before. He obviously a good green reader, whatever, but I'd helped him with some stuff in the stroke, and Justin and I, and he had really felt like and Ali Parlane, who was in that team, Ali used to look after his fitness. We really felt like we'd done that kind of team approach on him, and he'd done a really good job. And obviously he went on to do a lot of good things. He obviously went to Oklahoma State, so a lot of your listeners, I'm sure, will be familiar with Rehan. I don't think he had the best time at college. Like, I think he developed a few issues with his driver and he didn't quite get them figured out. And obviously college golf, you've got to drive it well because they're all really aggressive, right? I think he's now sorted that. I think towards the last year of his college career, he really sorted that out, and he's now doing really well in Corn Ferry and has played some good golf, as a young professional. He's still, what is he, like 26, 25?
Yeah,
like,
he hadn't long graduated.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a cool, I suppose that was the first real success that I thought, okay, I'm okay at this. I didn't make the guy worse, right? Which is often what you worry about as a coach, especially with elite players. Just don't mess them up. And maybe gave him some good concepts, some good messages, like good thoughts in and around like prepping for tournaments and stuff. So yeah.
Obviously, you mentioned Phil Kenyon. Most, people obviously are fully aware who he is because of his work with Scotty and every other player. That everyone in the golf world knows who he is, but people are now realizing, I guess probably in the last couple of years, he's really gone, to the top of the list, right? Because of his success in the majors with his players. Obviously you're working there now, but you've had a relationship. You've gone to his seminars before in Shanghai, so that's a really cool, really full circle moment for you. When do you think, as a coach, that like putting is going to be my thing? Because that's a pretty defining moment for you.
Yeah, I think I've probably been on that for quite a while. Like, I remember JP actually said to me, probably 2015, like when I started having a little bit of success with focusing on a lot of like young junior elite players in Dubai. He said to me, he was like, "John, you should just specialize in putting, like you should." And I think my ego probably got in the way a little bit. I was like, "Nah, I can coach all areas of the game. Like, I'll do it all. The innocence of youth, right?
Right.
I think on the one hand, it's probably, it was a good thing that I didn't specialize at that point, because I probably never would have got that job at JCB. If I'd just come there and said, "Oh, I'm just a putting guy," I would never have got that job. So the fact I did carry on coaching all areas allowed me to kind of make that transition back to the UK. But I think I've always kind of been debating that. And I think the other thing is that when you are coaching all areas, and particularly if you start having some success in other areas as well, like, for example, there's another young mini tour player, a guy called Jan Petrozzi, who I helped in 2021 to sort of 2023. And he won a Europro event after having me as his full coach for 6 or 7 months. So I'm thinking, okay, there's another little seed of maybe I can coach those other areas. And so I suppose I was always kind of, I was debating whether or not to do. Even now, I'm struggling to answer the question, right? But yeah, I think every tour player, apart from Jan, maybe I'd worked on putting with, like I'd done some putting stuff with Michael Hoey, done some stuff with Steve Webster, Darren Clark. Jan, I used to look after his putting more so than other areas. His other areas were really good. So there was always that like specialism in putting, but I never quite took the plunge. And then eventually, when I started working with Sam Horsfield a couple of years ago, and Sam, I was just doing putting because, I'm most confident in that area as well. He was working with Sean Foley at the time, so I don't need to touch that. But yeah, I just did his putting, and I suppose that then really sealed my kind of mind on this is kind of where I belong, and this is what I'm good at. Probably about 2 years ago that I really sort of fully committed on that. But yeah.
And now you're at Brocket Hall with working under Phil and one of his locations, right?
Yeah. So Phil actually talked to me about it at the Open at Troon, which was about July 24. Sam was playing. He qualified through final stage, so I was up there, and I was obviously excited. Got their first ever major that I'm coaching at, so I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I was having a coffee with him sort of one afternoon, and I just threw it out there. I've known Phil for quite a while. I've always found his sense of humor really appealing. Like, he's really dry, really, really quick-witted. So I enjoy hanging out with him anyway. But I also know that you can't take what he says too seriously, because he's probably joking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I sort of said to him, "Oh, look, Phil, I know you're doing a lot with your online academy. I do a lot of online coaching myself anyway through Skillist." I was like, if there's ever a chance that I can kind of like get involved or like help you out if you've got an overflow and maybe there's too much work for what you and your current team can do, like, I'd love to get involved. And he sort of said to me, he goes, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I'd love to." Like, honestly, I was just thinking I could learn from this guy and more of his team as well. And he goes, "Oh, right. It's interesting you say that, because actually I might have a bricks and mortar place, like an actual physical location that might be perfect for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, tell me more." And he's like, "No, I can't." I said, "Where is it?" Because I can't tell you that. I was like, when's it opening? Can't tell you that.
Here's the carrot. Come follow me. Here's the carrot.
Yeah. So now I'm thinking, okay, he's just being sarcastic again, and he's not, But no, there was enough substance to this potential new project that he was opening with Brocket Hall. Brocket Hall is down in Hertfordshire, just north part of London. And yeah, he was like, "Look, I can't tell you much about it, but yeah, there is a potential place. It's about 2 hours south from you. I can't tell you precisely where, but yeah, it's in that area." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So was excited to hear that was an opportunity, but there was no opportunity at that point. It was just an idea at that stage, but kind of kept in contact with him over time. And then eventually he said in sort of late April, I was over in Mexico with Sam at a live event, and I just walked off the putting green, and he WhatsApped me, give me this long voice note and said, "Look, it's happening. Are you still on board? Because I kind of need to know, like, in the next 24 hours, like I'm doing it." Otherwise, he would need to have looked for an alternative coach. And so that was it. My fate was kind of sealed at that point. And joined the team, and I'm chuffed. Like, it's everyone who works for Phil. I would already say the other coaches are fantastic. A lot of them are, PGA Tour coaches in their own right. Others are working with DP and mini tour players, and they're just a great group of guys. And I think that's that's testament to Phil and his ability to create a team, and just attract like no egos. Like there's no egos in that team. They're all very open to learning, sharing their experiences, and sort of learning from one another. And I love that because that's exactly what I resonate with and try to do myself. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind
I
of where
mean,
I'm at now.
dude, it's that's what's been fun to watch, right? From our, from the outside, watching everything you've done, and the journey that you've taken, and the risk too, right? It takes a lot of risk to leave to go to Dubai, and then like, yeah, I'm going to be a head pro. I'm coming back to JCB, and take on these things, and then you're at the Open, right, with a player that you represent as a coach, and like, this is everything I've been working towards. I'm at a major as a coach, right? Like, you got your coaching badge, you can go wherever you want to go, pretty much. You got that, and yeah, it takes 10 plus years to do it, right? It doesn't happen overnight, but the things that you've learned and diving into putting from my side on the outside, man, it's been awesome to watch. Like, it's been really fun to watch, and I know that thankfully, social media, we can keep in touch and keep in see everything you do, and drop a little heart here and there, just to say that we're watching, and it's fun to see one of your mates succeed. On the pine side, what are the things that really stand out to you? What, I guess, and for me, like, I'll say it in a personal experience, like, I have always been streaky, right? Like, but over the years, I think the older I've gotten, the more ego I've taken out of my putting, and I'm just like, pace is really important. And playing a lot of golf with JB, who, Bale, who really well growing up, and like, we talk a lot about golf and about pace putting, and I caddied for him at the US Mid-Am this year, and he played with Scott Fawcett, and so we talked to Scott a lot about data and pace putting and all the things. So, but for
Scott's a great guy.
you,
Met him.
yeah, we had a great time. We played 2 rounds together, and I just got to learn, just kind of what he's saying, and just kind of pick his brain on a few things. Um, as a caddy, I was keeping my mouth shut, but I was like listening to what JB was talking to him about. But yeah, I mean, I know what's the secret sauce, because putting is different for everybody, but what are you, what are you working on? What are you looking at? Key factors. Technology obviously is a huge part playing in. Yeah, what's it been like diving into the putting coach side of things at the elite level? What do you notice, and what are the biggest differentiators?
Yeah, so I think putting in particular is like, it's gone through a little bit of a resurgence here. I think it's become quite interesting for people to look at now, because there's a little bit more technology in that area. Like, for quite a few years, TrackMan, GC Quad, or there's a lot of video analysis. Everyone's got iPhones, so you can look at force plate data, 3D. There's been a lot of excitement around the full swing and short game areas, because there's a lot to study, right? And in putting, there was a little bit of that. Like, you had companies like Sam Putt Lab, which run a system which tracks the movement of the putter and the putter face and the shaft. There's other things like, obviously, video analysis you can have. Then there's things like Quintic ball roll. So there's a lot more like technology that's come into putting. I think some of the more recent ones, which kind of shine the lights down onto the green, like Putt View. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Where you can project different ball trajectories of what the ball's going to do as it rolls across a surface. I think that's made it a lot more interesting for the consumer, not just the coach, but to go, oh wow, I was thinking about that, or I was green reading that, or maybe I wasn't, and now I can. I think that's made it a lot more interesting for like the consumer. We've got Putt View at the studio at Brocket. We've got a Zen Green stage which tilts to different percentages. We can create single breaks, double breaks, compound breaks, uphill, downhill, side hill, and all of that makes it a lot more interesting, both to study and to teach and to absorb yourself in as a consumer, because a lot of consumers are aware of what's out there now, and they look on Instagram, they look on YouTube, and they look at what good instruction in each individual area looks like, and they go in search of it. So that's kind of allowed me, I suppose, to have a little bit more better tools at my disposal. But I would still try and not be reliant on those. Like, you still want to make sure that your eye is very well trained, and make sure that you can see it, and you can still give a great golf lesson, but you use those as like what's the best way to say it? It's like think of a really Michelin star chef, like a Gordon Ramsay, right? If I had Gordon Ramsay here in my kitchen, he would probably create me and my wife the absolute best meal we've ever experienced from our own kitchen, right? Yeah. But if we went to his restaurant and went to where he's got all of his tools and all of his things, we'd have an even better meal than the one he got here for us in this kitchen.
Yeah.
And I think that is kind of where I'm at with the studio idea and all the technology. I still want to be able to give you the best golf lesson I possibly can with no tools at my disposal, just in the middle of a putting green with me, you, putter, and a couple of balls. I still want to be able to do that. But when you come to my restaurant, when you come to my putting studio, or Phil's putting studio, I should say, I can now give you one like it's my restaurant. And I've got all the bits of the technology that I can really know how to deliver that exquisite level of service and really get the message across in the best way. And that's kind of how I would frame technology. In terms of what I'm looking at, like, I mean, I'm just, again, being a sponge. Phil has opened my doors or opened my brain, I suppose, and opened the door to a whole new area of understanding knowledge and asking better and more questions of what maybe I thought in the past, and also maybe critique it a little bit and critically think about it and go, well, was that just a preference that I was imposing, or was that actually making the difference that I wanted it to make? So I'm particularly interested in the debate about torque in putters at the moment, zero torque, low torque, toe hang, face balanced. I think, there's a lot of bad information out there, unfortunately. I think a lot of the manufacturers have kind of jumped on this idea of low torque. God, that's a cool soundbite. We like that.
Yeah.
Like, almost like torque is a bad word that you shouldn't talk about, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
But it's not. Like, torque is a good thing. TORQUE is a good thing, right? It means that certain players need that torque to be able to feel where the face is in time and space. And if you take it away or go to zero or low torque, sometimes that can really mess them up, because now they can't feel where that other face is in space. I think understanding that has been really, really powerful. I've enjoyed it. It's topical at the moment because a lot of customers are coming in and asking about it. They're asking it, and normally the question is, shall I just go lab putter? Shall I go like zero torque? And I'm like, it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
Yes, it can help players, and I love the fact as a fitter, I love the fact that I've got another option to look at, but it isn't a one size fits all. And the other thing to bear in mind is the fact that the torque on these low torque putters is not really zero. There is a little bit of torque about the shaft axis. It's maybe just a little bit more heel bias than it is toe bias or face balance. So understanding that and kind of getting a bit better information across to consumers, I've found quite interesting, and it's been an important conversation to have. But then they open the doors of, oh, okay, so what do I need? And that's where you have to then go down and fit. And you don't truly know what they need just by looking at someone. I don't know precisely how they're going to respond. Like, I could put a zero torque putter in your hands and put the exact same putter in my hands, and the both of us might behave completely different in terms of how we interact with it. And
because then you're diving into the person's feel and that look of it. Like, I don't like the look of the lab putters at all. And this won't surprise you, I'm still using my Fang. I still have the center shaft Fang that I've had since I was 17 years old.
Since I caddied for you.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still, yeah.
Ollie,
I mean,
Ollie schooled us.
Alexander Cadogan, and yes, Ollie school.
Go on, tell that story. This has been me telling stories. You got to tell the story.
So you're talking about, you caddied for me when you were this is
well, Trubshaw wasn't Alexander Cadogan.
No, it wasn't. But this will tie in.
Welsh amateur.
So back to when you were working at Tembe, you caddied for me at Welsh Am. I was staying with you and played against Ollie Farr, who I think went on to win maybe that year. I lost. Yeah, I had a pretty good run, but lost. And we had a good time there. But a couple of years later, it was at the Wales. It was at the Am again, but Welsh Amateur at Ashburnham, and we'd been doing a little bit of, and I think I was probably out with pace. Tempo is a big thing in my swings. If my timing's off, like we're sending it right and left. So
I'll tell you, right, to frame the tip this week, right? Or I hadn't really done much technically with you, right? I think started having some conversations, and then you were like, "Oh, are you home? Like, come with me to Ashburnham." I was like, "All right," and I just had Justin and Claude and Butch's words ringing in my ear, which was, "Don't mess him up. Just don't mess him up." So I was like, "What can I say to this guy that's going to help him this week?" but it'll just get him out of his own way, but not technical. So
it was the perfect thing to tell me too, because the weather was howling. It's match play and knockout, and so you told me to say the words Alexander Cadogan when hitting the golf ball, and so Alexander to the top, little pause, Cadogan on the way down, and we've never forgot that name, right? And where you pulled that name from? Who we need to find this guy? Like, who is he?
I got it from Martin Hall. Martin Hall
Okay.
had said it on a video once.
Yeah, there we go. I wouldn't know that. And the other, and so I end up getting all the way to the final. I lose in the 36-hole final to Jack Bush, which was painful. But Jack's a great friend, and the entire Merthyr Mafia came down. It's 8 o'clock in the morning to Ashburn, and they're all cracking cans of Bow on the first tee, and I'm standing there like, what am I doing here? But no, it got me all the way. That got me into the Wales setup. That got me into.
You played Holmes that year.
I played Holmes that year. I played Europeans the following year, and I played World Am the year after that. And so that kind of really set things up. And the other thing that I think we did as well, was I wrote BAC on my golf ball every single day.
Yes.
To which I can say BA.
If you wanna...
Yeah, the C, whatever you could put the C that, but it was BA, because in match play, you have to be that person, because otherwise you can't be, not you always, but you've got to find something. Michael Jordan always talks about like finding something, right? Like I found that to be like, I need to just switch on here, and these guys aren't my friends.
That was that was the conversation around that time. I think I remember at the start of the week saying to you, like, Mike, you're a great lad, and everyone knows you're a great lad, but sometimes that can be a blessing and a curse. Like in this environment this week, I just said to you, like, you've done the graft. You deserve to be here in the knockouts, right? So you need to be a bit more tenacious and a bit more,
a bit of a killer,
be a bit more of a killer instinct, and go and get this job done. Because for quite a few years I'd been watching, like, we'd kind of gone our separate ways, but I was still watching your career, and I knew you were playing really good golf, but hadn't kind of like got one big result over the line. And I was like, right, come on, let's switch. So your way was writing on your golf ball BAC.
BAC and big thick black marker. But no, that was like the catalyst, right? That was, because I think that was 20, that would have been like my 2012. Yeah. So that was my second year in school. I then went on to go back to school, and then had my best year ever in school, my junior year, third year. And then again, my fourth year went, so that was like the catalyst. And so looking back at that moment, like, it was huge. And, it's something that easily for you, just like say, do you say the right thing, or, and that, I am just one of many examples in players in your world that's happened, which is, I'm extremely grateful for it, because there's plenty of things that happened after that maybe I wouldn't have gone on to, or I'm not on the radar, or and I think there's so many golfers out there, and you've seen this too, like, everyone is good, right? Like everybody out there can hit a golf ball, but it's just, can you do it at the right time? And that's what gets you. And obviously, like, yes, you have the world beaters, the Warriors, the Schefflers, they're just in a different league of their own. But the majority of like elite amateur professional golf, everybody, like, there's so many stories that, like, we know guys who just didn't make it. And you're like, how? Like, you're a world beater, but it's there's a few things. So, mate, I know we could sit here forever and talk about golf. Unfortunately, I've got to go and spend the rest of my day working. But dude, I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. Love what you're doing. I can't wait to come back to the UK and catch up and come see the facility. I'm hoping to come back probably in the next 6 months. So I'll let you know. But yeah, it's been awesome to watch. Proud of you from the mate side of standpoint, mate. It's just the best. Like, you're crushing it, and it's it's fun to watch, and I'm excited to see it, excited to see things progress. And obviously you're traveling, you've got clients that are traveling, and so keep us in the loop on when you're at stateside, and we'll see if we can catch up over here. Mexico's a little far for me to go, but if you're traveling to the Live USA, I
might be going a bit closer to your home this time round. But yeah, no, it's a pleasure, and good job on all the different things you're doing, Mike. I love the podcasts, and I know you're building an amazing and successful life there. So good on you, and keep it up, bud.
Thanks, mate. I'll for people listening, I'll put Johnny's socials in the description down below. You guys can go follow him, see his putting content. What is if people are listening and they're just fascinated and want to get a lesson on Skillist, how does that work? What's the online setup like? Give yourself a little plug here.
Yeah, just drop me an email, johnhowellsgolf@gmail.com, and we'll take it from there. But yeah, I do a lot of particularly like now just putting instruction, obviously on Skillist. I do that through the Skillist and platform because it's one of the easiest ones for online instruction. Do face-to-face coaching obviously down at Brocket Hall. So if you're ever in the UK or around Hertfordshire, or if you're listening to this podcast from Hertfordshire, then come and check us out over at Brocket Hall. It's a really cool club. Lots of good things going on at the academy there, and it would be a pleasure to connect with you. So reach out.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, mate. I'll talk to you soon.
Speak soon. Cheers, bud.